Hello, this is Darren.
And this is Paige.
And this is
Where's the Lemonade?
Where we talk about what happens when life throws you lemons.
Make some lemonade?
Maybe. Some weeks it's lemon squares.
Yeah, some weeks it's just lemons.
Yeah. In today's episode, we learned that there is no step in Grandma.
Thank goodness.
What about Grandpa?
I don't think there's a step in Grandpa.
Blending families is actually more than just you and your wife and the kids.
There's a lot of other people involved.
There certainly are. And we learned that pretty quick from some great examples from our parents. And then we started thinking about having grandkids ourselves someday. There's a lot to think about.
There is. And I like thinking about us having grandkids.
Yes, it is kind of fun, isn't it?
And we do have two now, which is very exciting.
In fact, just a couple weeks ago, we added our second grandbaby.
Yep, Zoe Ann. She's adorable.
It's great.
Thank you, Rachel and Russell.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So when we started thinking about this, we said, well, how have our parents really kind of accepted the kids into their grandchildren? And then we thought about us having grandchildren. And then we also thought about, well, what would it mean to just be a normal grandparent, not a step grandparent? And what we found is there's no real step in grandparent.
There isn't. It doesn't exist. And I'm glad for that.
Oh, I am too. Well, our parents really taught us a lot about how to be a grandparent.
They did. They were so inclusive from day one, weren't they?
They really were. And it was really a blessing to us to see our parents just take these new kids into their arms and accept them as their own grandchildren. Yeah,
it's true. In fact, I think, was it the first time that your parents met my kids? We were down in Southern California for your nephew's wedding.
We were still engaged.
Yes, we were engaged. We weren't married yet. And your mom has this tradition of giving a $100 bill to the grandkids that can kiss her on the forehead.
Flat-footed, that is.
Flat-footed, meaning they are taller than her. That's the whole point.
And my mom's not a short woman.
She's not. What is she,
She's 5'10".
5'10"? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a goal for the grandkids. There's many grandkids that will never meet this goal.
No, there are. Most of them my daughters and your daughters.
Yes. But most of the boys, in fact, I'm sure all of the boys.
I think all the boys can kiss grandma on the forehead, flat-footed.
But we were all together, and my kids were just meeting your parents, and your mom said to my son, Jake,
who was 16 at the time.
Yep. Jake, come over and see if you can kiss my forehead. And he was like, okay, this is weird.
So he kissed her on the forehead. My mom handed him a $100 bill.
He didn't think it was weird anymore.
No. Once that money hit his hand, it was like, oh, I love this new grandma.
So that was really great. She, was just like, right on top of that tradition.
Right. And what it did for not just Jake, but all the rest of your kids is it made them feel a part of the Pulsifer clan, even though their last name wasn't Pulsifer.
Right.
They felt part of it.
Yes. And my son Sam, he's getting there.
Yeah. Watch out, Grandma.
Yeah.
Next time you see him.
He's ready for that $100.
Yep. I don't know. Maybe she's upped it since inflation. The younger grandkids seem to have been able to talk grandma up before, so we'll see what happens.
That's true.
So some other things that, like your mom did right away, that very first Christmas. We were married in September, and by that Christmas time, your mom had already made ornaments for all of my kids.
Yeah, so something that my mom has done, I think we counted the ornaments this last year. I think she's done it for 25 or 26 years.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So my mom is an incredible artist. She sews, she paints, she crafts. I mean, it's there's nothing she can't do. And she makes each of the grandkids an ornament. It's different every year. It's a wood ornament that she paints, and she puts the year and their name on it. And it is so special for my kids to get those every year. And like you said, as soon as we were married.
I mean, she didn't have a lot of time, and she had to make 6 ornaments, which was quite a bit. I mean, compared to how many she normally makes.
Yeah, because she starts back in, I think, September, she starts because they're quite. In fact, you know what? Maybe we should put on our blog. We'll put some pictures of
So check out our blog. You'll see some pictures of grandma's ornaments.
Yeah, because they're quite involved. They're not just slop the paint on. They're quite involved.
Yeah, very detailed. And the kids over the last 8 years have really enjoyed getting what ornament is grandma going to have for us this year. So another tradition, like we talked in our last podcast, that our parents are doing, that's really bringing these new grandkids into their lives. And I don't think they ever consider them step grandkids.
No, they don't. They have just been so good at including them from day one.
Another great thing that my mom does is when any one of her grandkids gets married, she makes them a quilt.
Yes, a beautiful quilt.
Yeah. So, and she's done that with all of our married children, and also for the grandbabies as they come, her great grandchildren. She does the same thing. She makes a quilt for them as well, and there's been no exclusion at all.
No, it wouldn't even be a thought.
No, and that's the thing that I love about our parents is they really went out and they just said, we're bringing these kids in, and it really helped the kids get through a chaotic time of blending these families together. They felt love.
They did. Here's Darren getting emotional.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay. That's why I love him. Another thing that our parents started doing right away is birthday card. I mean, they don't miss anybody's birthday.
Which is really amazing, especially for how old our parents are, that they don't forget. Sorry, Mom. And how many cards I have to send out. My mom, yes. I think last count she had was over 60 grandkids and great-grandkids that she's keeping track of.
Yeah, it's quite a bit, and they never miss a birthday. My mom always sends Valentine cards, and they're just really thoughtful in that way, and we appreciate it very much. I know the kids do too.
Another thing that's very personal, and that is Paige's dad. He's not much of a technologist.
Not much of a technologist. In fact, I doubt he'll be listening to this podcast because he won't know how to turn it on. Sorry, Dad, but it is true.
So, and we have our children that have served missions for our church, and instead of sending an email out to those kids, he handwrites a letter and sends a letter every week to each one of our kids that are on their missions. What an incredible act of love and kindness.
He does. He sends it. And he also sends us a handwritten note. Probably once every couple months, he'll send a note that just says how much he loves us and appreciates us. And he always says something to you in the note and thanks you for taking care of his daughter and her kids. And he's very grateful.
I'm kind of a traditionalist that way, in that I asked your dad if I could marry you. And you were 40-something years old.
I know. I thought it was kind of silly, but I thought it was kind of cute.
But your dad...
Wait, how old was I? Did you just mention my age?
Well, you mentioned my age last time. I am 50 years old now, so Paige is a little bit younger than me.
A little bit?
6 months.
Lots younger than you.
So, but your dad, he looked at me square in the face and said, "You take care of my princess." I went, "Oh, I better do that."
So I am the youngest by 7.5 years.
She is so spoiled.
I'm the baby.
That's right.
It's a good place to be. I'll tell you that. It is.
And we've seen the thing that I really appreciate about both of our parents is that there was no doubt in their mind that this was going to work. And they made sure, and they did everything they could to include everyone so it would work.
They did. And we're going to have an upcoming episode about how it is moving into a new family that's been used to someone else for the last 20 years, and how like your siblings accepted me or my siblings accepted you, which I think is actually going to be a fascinating episode.
Oh, it's going to be fascinating.
It's going to be a little bit different than, how our parents just accepted us right away.
But our parents did, but my siblings had a rougher time.
Yeah. Siblings are a little bit different. They're a little more skeptical and protective. So I think that's actually going to be a really good episode coming up.
We'll invite our siblings to comment. That will be interesting.
A little more gritty.
Yeah, a lot more gritty. Okay, now we're going to talk about what it means to be a grandparent in a blended family. Not our parents, but us, because we've got adult children and some married children. So we were looking forward to having a grandbaby in the house.
Oh my goodness. So looking forward to it. And Rachel and Russell made that happen, 3.5 years ago. Emma, our oldest grandchild, is 3.5. Just as cute as can be, a little Spitfire. Oh, she's so much like Rachel. So cute. And then 2 weeks ago, February 13th, we were blessed with
Zoe Ann.
Zoe Ann, Emma's little baby sister.
And there's nothing that brings a family closer together than a baby in the family.
Oh, it's so true. In fact, this is a side note. When you and I got married, one of the things that Darren and I had agreed upon, so let me back up. When we were dating, one of the first questions you ask somebody when you're looking to get into a relationship,
do you want more kids?
Do you want more kids?
I mean, I already had 6. I was done.
You were done. And I had 4. And so I remember one of our very first conversations we had on the phone was, do you want more kids? No. Do you want more kids? No. Okay.
We can keep talking.
Yeah. The next was, do you like camping? No. Do you like camping? No. Oh, great. Let's keep talking.
Let's keep talking. That's right. And it's funny because I was assistant scoutmaster at the time and I hate camping. So that's a whole other story. So when we we're dating and talking about that, and even after we got married, we're not having kids.
Oh, but then
our first child left the house of the 7. And it was funny because Paige went through kind of a withdrawal. We had 7 kids in the house. And I think Jake was the first to leave. And when he left, you felt this hole in the house. Something was missing, and you came to me and said, let's have a baby. And I said, no.
I did, because going back to what you said a few seconds ago about how there's nothing like a new baby, right? There's nothing like a new baby being born to bring a family closer together. And I was thinking how you and I are never going to experience that. And that made me sad, because it's such an amazing experience in a family to have that new baby. And between a husband and wife and your whole family, it's an amazing experience to have that newborn baby. And so I started thinking, Darren, we have to have this experience.
No, we don't. Because I remember sleepless nights. I'm a very light sleeper, so I'd be up all night. I remember poopy diapers all over the house. I like the concept of being a grandparent where the poopy diapers are around the house, but I'm not the one having to change them. I'm not the one that has to be up at night. That's for younger people.
Yes, but you understand what I mean.
I totally get it. And every time another one of our kids left the house, Paige felt this same way, like we need to add more to the house. And I said, just give it some time. We had married kids at the time, and eventually they helped fill that gap. Thank goodness. Thank you, Rachel and Russell.
Yes, and I'm 100% over that.
Thank goodness.
And I am glad we did not have a child.
So with grandchildren now, we had to look at establishing what traditions were we going to do with our grandchildren. And one thing we decided right up front was any grandchild that came into our blended family, there was no step.
No step. No, it's just Emma is your granddaughter. Zoe's your granddaughter. Because Rachel is my daughter. And it never even for a second was it.
Didn't even cross her mind.
Nope. Yeah. And nor are you step grandpa to her.
No, she just calls me grandpa.
Yeah, you're just grandpa. In fact, she's so young, she doesn't really understand.
She doesn't understand the blending of families and all that. And she has 9 aunts and uncles.
Right.
And she only sees it that way. She does get confused sometimes when we're going to go visit her, and they live about an 8-10 hour drive away. So sometimes when we go there, we can't take my kids because they're with their mom. So she sometimes gets a little bit confused that not all of her aunts and uncles are there. Yeah,
she'll say, "Where's Maddie and David?" She doesn't understand why they're not there, and I'm not sure when she'll have that realization that they have a different mom, that I'm not their mom. But she hasn't gotten there yet.
No, but we need to be mindful of that when the questions arise, and that we need to address it right up front and not hide it from her. Right. Because that will just make it more confusing.
But right now, they are just Aunt Maddie and Uncle David and Uncle Sam, and she sees no difference between any of them.
She doesn't, and she gets to see the kids a lot because Grandpa spoils Emma as much as possible, and I got her a Echo Show. So she can call me anytime she wants on my Echo show.
She can call you
I
on
bought
your Echo show?
I bought it.
Oh, really? You bought it?
I bought it. It's for me to talk to my granddaughter. And she can say, call Grandpa, and it calls me.
Yes, it is in the kitchen. It is for the whole family.
Yes, it is. But everyone gets to talk to her, and she loves talking to us on the video conference.
Yes, that's really fun.
Which has been a lot of fun. Another interesting thing to watch is how our adult children have really taken the blending of the families beyond the walls of our home. I mean, when we first got married, there were 7 of the 10 kids living with us. Now there's only 3. But they have carried this beyond when they're at school or working now. 4 of the kids live close to each other. And they're all inclusive. It's pretty amazing to watch.
They do. They have Sunday dinner together every Sunday, and most every Sunday.
Aunts and uncles babysit. They come and play with Emma and now Zoe. It's quite incredible, and thank you, kids, for doing that. And it really started right up front with our oldest, with Amanda. She really saw the new kids, my kids, the younger kids, as more kids to play with.
Right.
Right. And right away, she had this bond with my youngest daughter, Madeline. We've got a great picture we'll put up on the blog that shows these 2 at our wedding. And they're like 2 peas in a pod. It's pretty funny.
It was really cute. But yeah, we really appreciate our older kids making the blending of the families.
Going beyond our house.
Yes, so much. Oh gosh, so much effort they put into making sure that was a kind of a seamless transition. And without their good attitude, it would not have happened.
No, it wouldn't have. And it was not that way at the very beginning. It was a little rough.
It was a little rough.
But 2 of our kids specifically reached out to each other, and they don't call each other step siblings. They call each other brother and sister.
Yeah, they said there's no step. And
they've been a great example for everybody else.
And I do want to mention that for a second, though. I don't want people to think that this has just been a little fairy tale since day one. It has not been. It was rough in the beginning, and there were kids, some of the older kids that were like, You're
not my dad.
Yep, I'm not on board with this.
You're not my mom.
Yep, it was rough in the beginning, and we're actually going to have an episode on the first year.
Ooh, that's a tough subject.
Oh boy, it was. So anyway, but they had an attitude change, and I'm not sure why they had that attitude change, other than they could just see that
this was going to happen regardless of
it was happening. It already happened, and jump on board and let's make this work. Or,
And you know what? Thank you very much, kids, for doing that.
Yes, I couldn't say enough to them for having.
I'm sure
attitude.
they get tired of each other sometimes, and they want to scream at each other.
I'm sure, just like all siblings do.
Just
right?
all siblings, but overall, they've been great at helping each other while they've been going to school or getting jobs, and it's great. I feel like our kids have really taken the things we've tried to instill in them and used them in their lives. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
All right, now that we're brand new grandparents, we reached out, and we have other friends that are grandparents too.
We do. We actually have several friends that they're much older than us.
Much older, I'm sure.
And it's good to talk to somebody that's been in a certain situation for a while, right? No matter what the situation is. But ours was grandparenting. How can we do that the best of our abilities? And so
especially in a hard situation that we're in.
In a blended family, yes. And so we did reach out and got some tips from our friends and how to grandparent the best that we can. And we had one. And this was actually even before it was grandparenting. This is for married kids in general.
Yes.
Do not give advice unless you are asked for the advice.
Oh, this could be very difficult, especially for a software engineer like me. When I see problems, I just want to fix them.
Well, and because we've been through a lot of these same things with, being newly married and then having kids, right? We've been through
we've been through this. But what we learned real quick is our kids need to learn through experience, and they will ask us when they're stuck. And we don't have to step in and save them, even though we know what they're doing might go down the wrong path in raising our grandchildren or in just their relationship. That only in certain times have we ever stepped in and say, hey, let's go talk. But that's very rare. Most of the time we wait for them to come to us.
Right. Yeah, that's very important because we had some friends that they were giving advice before it was asked, and it really put a rift in between the two of them. And so we thought, you know what, we need to be very careful. And I hope that we're doing a good job with that. I'm sure our kids, after they hear this, will tell us if we are or
Yes,
not.
they will. We're trying our best. Sometimes Paige and I will sit there, especially when it comes to parenting of 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds, because they can be a challenge. And we've gone through collectively 10 of those.
Right. So we feel like we have lots to
We
offer.
have lots to offer, but sometimes we sit back and we just hold our tongue and kind of laugh together. And later when we're alone, we talk about it and laugh and giggle and say, oh, they're going to learn. Just give it a couple days.
And luckily, Rachel is such a good mom, and she's so good with Emma and Zoe. And so I do appreciate, though, there have been times where she has...
She's reached out to you.
Yeah, she has reached out to me for some advice, and that makes me feel good that she feels like I have something to offer, because I think I was a good mom to her. Right, Rachel? Right, Amanda? Right, Jake? Right, Sam? I was a good mom. So anyway, but sit back. Don't give advice unless it's
just
asked.
enjoy your grandkids and enjoy watching your own children make mistakes and learn from them. Laugh a little. Nothing will be that earth-shattering. Typically that you can't just hold your tongue and sit back and enjoy being a grandparent.
Right. So here's a little example of sitting back and waiting and seeing what's going to happen. So when Rachel first had Emma, I was there. I think I got there a couple days after Emma was born. I stayed for a week to help Rachel out. And we were working with Emma, 3-4-day-old baby, on taking the pacifier. We wanted her to take the pacifier. Rachel really wanted her to take a pacifier. And the pacifier fell on the floor. And I look at Rachel, because I know what I would have done when the pacifier fell on the floor, right?
For first child?
For first child.
Oh, yeah, you got to sanitize it.
Yes. And I was thinking, I wonder what... But I know what I would do at my fourth child.
And as a grandparent, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
Lick it off, put it in the kid's mouth.
Exactly. They need the germs. Anyway, so I look at Rachel, and I'm like, Rachel, this is a moment of truth. What's it going to be? Am I going to go wash it off in the sink? Am I going to go boil it? Or am I just going to wipe it off with my pants and put it back in her mouth? And Rachel looked at me and she said, oh, just wipe it off and put it in her mouth. And I was like, yes, she's not going through the first mom, paranoia.
She skipped that, which is kind of nice.
It was very nice. So, but that wasn't my call.
That was great that you did that you said, hey, what do you want to do? Because remember, even though they are our grandchildren, they're their children, and it's under their responsibilities to learn how to do this, and we're there to advise when asked.
That's right.
Another thing that we learned was, because they are your kids' and it's their responsibility, don't counteract what they want. For example, if they say don't give Emma candy, then you probably shouldn't do that. Maybe a little bit.
Am I not supposed to be doing that?
But it's okay to spoil your grandkids, but don't counteract their parents. Don't say your parents are stupid. They don't know what they're talking about.
No. And in fact, when I was just there because Zoe Ann was born, I would get up with Emma in the mornings and I would feed her breakfast. And I'm sure she thought, oh, here's grandma. I can get whatever I want from her. So I always would give her whatever she wanted for breakfast. She'd eat a waffle or cereal, and then she'd always ask me for Cheetos. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't think Rachel would give her Cheetos. So I kind of compromised, and I would say, here's 2 Cheetos. So I would give her 2. So she would have her Fruity Pebbles and a waffle and 2 Cheetos. And I think Rachel was fine with that. So, sometimes you just have to... You want to be the grandparent. You want to be the fun one, but we have to be careful that we're still honoring the wishes.
The wishes of our kids.
Right.
Now, our parents have done a really good job at grandparenting, and I've learned some things from my parents on how they've treated my kids that I want to emulate. And that is to be a stable force in the kids' lives. No matter what's going on around them, that they know that they can always rely on you
Right. Yeah,
to always
definitely.
be there and be kind and unconditional love. That's one thing that I appreciate about my parents with my kids.
I agree. My parents are the same way. Just love, 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 right? Whatever we tell them, it's just, I love you, I love you, I love you. And that's how we want to be as grandparents.
Yep. All right, so for the funny moment of the week, as we do every week, we've got a doozy this week, and it all has to do with Emma Jane, our granddaughter, and Zoe coming into her life.
Yes. So Rachel was coming to the end of her pregnancy. Zoe was about to be born in a couple days, and they were talking to Emma about it. And
Emma was so impatient.
she was so impatient. In fact, she asked Rachel before Zoe was born. She said, "Is baby Zoe here?" Rachel's sitting there 9 months pregnant, and she's like, "Not yet."
Baby's always in my tummy still.
So Emma told Rachel just a couple days before Zoe was born, "I'm going to hold the baby first." And Rachel said, "Well, what about me? Shouldn't I get to hold the baby first?" And she's like, "No, I get to hold the baby first. I'm holding baby Zoe first."
I've been waiting a long time.
Yeah, she says, "I've been waiting a long time, Mom." So that was very cute.
Very cute. And just like any first child, Emma's loving and kind and anxious and emotional.
Yes.
Because she used to have the attention of 9 aunts and uncles, and now that attention is divided. So it's fun watching Emma go through these changes and bring Zoe into her life, which she loves dearly.
Oh, she does. She wants to be so helpful.
In our next episode, we're going to talk about traveling with large families, road trips.
Yes, and our survival tips that we've come up with so that we don't go crazy.
Yeah, and so I don't blow a gasket.
Oh my goodness, it's always a countdown. He's going to blow, he's going to blow.